you gotta do is focus on us.
Focus on what?
Focus on us. You don't need to zoom or anything. Just try and have a steady.
Is it still on?
It's rolling. It's rolling.
Okay.
Just point
Adults,
to the speakers.
your very best friends, and you make relationships on Warped Tour that they're like real life friendships, the things that you don't think are ever going to go away. And then all of a sudden, like that 2 months is up, and you just got to say bye, and I might never see you again, which is it's a crazy feeling. It makes you grow up real quick, and it makes you appreciate what hard work can do for you and how it can benefit you. Like Warped Tour is a lot of hard work. It's a lot of hours in the sun. It's a lot of self-promotion and dedication, but it all pays out. And there's fewer experiences in my life that I can say that have benefited me as much as Warped, in the sense of making excellent lifelong friends and lifelong lessons as well. I think it's going to be the hardest thing we've done as a band, but at the same time it's going to be one of the best things that we've done as a band. So yeah, ask me again in 2 months.
Okay, if you could just push this to the side.
Sure.
We'll get this started. You got it?
It's an inside screen.
Without further ado, as we wrap up IES 18, our guest of honor, please welcome Kevin
Hi,
Lyon.
guys. Sorry, I've only been home 48 hours, so we're basically in laundry here, so still unpacking and doing laundry from 2 months in a row. So thank you for having me, Jay.
Well, we can't thank you enough, Kevin. You know, we didn't know if you're going to walk through the door or not. I kind of hinted at yesterday that maybe it's going to happen, maybe it's not. But, you know, obviously what you do means a lot to the independent creative community out here. And I figure what better way to wrap this up and, of course, wrap up the legacy of the Warped Tour to have you say a few words. And as we, open the next chapter and, start at USC and all that.
I went to my first HR meeting. I landed at 1 a.m. on Friday, and at 10 a.m. I was at USC filling out my first HR paperwork in my entire life. So that was strange. That's the most fearsome thing I have of going in and doing this, taking this position at the school, is actually having to do the paperwork.
Wow.
Yeah, I've never had to do paperwork in my life like that. So no, but the independent spirit is alive and well. I think it's more so than ever. In my world, it's gone through a whole thing of consolidation, and I think I was one of the last independent festival producers still around out there. Most of them have been purchased or bought by companies like Live Nation and AEG. We're just kind of going to revamp what we're doing as a company. My company, Forfini, is not going away. It'll be rebranding in a couple of weeks, a whole new direction for our company. So we'll be making that announcement very shortly in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, well, very exciting, and I know a number of our people have been on the tour and certainly attended it, and I go way back in seeing what you've built. And like I always said, that this is a new door opening, and I know you put this into the hands of the fans and the bands and the people to go out and achieve. And one of the greatest things Kevin has done is we watched him create this from virtually nothing, and that's what we always inspire, with the Indie Summit and everything, that you can take an idea, and as long as you can go out and make it happen and get some traction and figure out how to make the business work, some of the greatest things, including the Warped Tour, started that way. So, there are no rules as long as you're doing it legally and you get your ducks in a row and you find an audience, anything's possible. And there's certainly big companies out there that might want to joint venture with you and get behind you and, back your plan. And, if you know what you're doing going into it, you can still retain some leverage, some equity, some, a piece of the pie. Kevin, just kind of talk a little bit about not only as you put a bow on the incredible 24 years and open up the 25th year in the new chapter, of just kind of where the state of the concert, touring, festival business is, because we've seen the advent of way more festivals, pop up. We know some make money, some don't, some will be around. Obviously your friends at Golden Voice have created something great with Coachella, and they're doing their thing. But where do you see the
I think
industry?
we're definitely seeing there was a bubble. I've been talking about it for about 5 years. The festival bubble. There was too many festivals. They were starting to be like-minded. But I think we're finding more niche festivals. I've also been saying we're finding smaller, nichier festivals. I think we're going to see more one-day festivals. Some of the best success I had in the last couple of years was things like It's Not Dead, the punk rock show that I put on, and but they're one day. You know, getting away for a 3-day festival, the cost of it for the public, I think, is becoming unattainable in some ways. So, you know, the nicest thing some people were saying out on the road was the Warped Tour was the festival for the people, because we did try to keep the ticket prices as low as possible. But as you travel the country, everything's costing more. So I think it's more regional festivals. You know, we had a lot of new things that we were dealing with in the last few years that make touring festivals probably are going to be difficult to put on the road. I think a few people will attempt them next year. But I think we're going to see more local and regional festivals. One day, I think, is the direction that festivals are going.
Mm-hmm. So try to sustain this, you know, weeks and weeks and months is the difficult part.
Yeah, or a 3-day festival. I think people are going to build more sites that are conducive to, you know, one week you'll see a hip hop festival, and then the next week you might see an indie festival, and then the third week might be a country festival. So they're putting together, you know, locations. I'm waiting for some news tomorrow, and for our 25th anniversary, we're looking at a very large festival using their facilities the week after, so we would be able to share the cost on the infrastructure. And that's what we're looking at doing. So I think a lot of people are starting to look at that way, because if you can find a festival site, I know a friend of mine, John Reese, does some festivals. He built the grounds in Ohio, so I know he's doing a country festival. He's doing an EDM festival there. He did a punk rock camp out there earlier this year. But then he puts the infrastructure in for the whole summer, so you don't have to keep rebuilding the festival sites, because building a festival site gets quite expensive. So, you know, if you're going to start a festival, I think, you know, looking to collaborate with other people that maybe have, you know, maybe work in a different genre of music that want to use it the next weekend, you know, you can, because stages and events you rent by the month a lot of times. Mm-hmm. So bringing those hard costs down to doing festivals, you know, that's one of my classes is going to be a festival creation, and, you know, and in USC. So
what are we looking at as far as the 4 courses you're doing? One is festival creation.
One is festival creation, a DIY marketing class, a branding class, and then kind of this mentors, entrepreneurs, and kind of skewing it towards social responsibility and entertainment. So it's a full load. I'll be teaching 2 full days a week there, but also running the company the rest of the time.
Mm-hmm. So it gives you an opportunity to give back, mentor others, and be able to offset making the next move, having that day job.
And like I said, maybe day job, maybe finish a 10-week yoga course, you know, because no traveling. It was the first time in history we had a family meeting. My daughters, one daughter's getting ready to jump around the country and work a bunch of festivals. My other daughter with school, and we were sitting there, and then it came up to my calendar, and they said, you know, what's your travel schedule? And I said, I don't have one right now. It's the first time I've gotten off the road and now I had nothing booked to go travel. So it's kind of nice. It's more my personal grounding, you know. But so I think for you guys, there's going to be a huge amount of opportunities because some of this consolidation. Every time everything consolidates too much, there'll be new pockets of things that form out there.
The new innovators, the new pioneers that open up, the trailblazers, like we call them. Well, Kevin, as far as any kind of tips that you can give to entrepreneurs, you know, whether they're as an artist these days, you've obviously seen the rise and advent of so many incredible artists. You take a little band like 21 Pilots, and now they're a big arena band, and you know, so many acts have come through the Warped Tour. What have you learned in the last couple of years, seeing kind of how some of these artists, besides just the normal social media, are kind of attaining greatness?
Stay out of trouble on social media, I think, part of it. But you know, I think a lot of it is also developing, you know, your parallel brands. You know, so while you're working on your art and your love and craft of music or whatever you're doing, you have to develop your other interests as much, because it's everyone, you know, having a dual income as an individual sometimes, finding a way to make some extra money or do something while you follow your passion is going to be very, very important right now. You know, we're seeing, you know, as streaming revenues get more sorted out, I said about 5 years ago I was waiting for Spotify and people to start signing their own artists, and now they're starting to do that. And, you know, the backlash will be, they'll weather that backlash now, because streaming is the outlet for music. So I think there's going to be, you know, if you can build your own story and you build your own basis, you can start looking to make some of your own deals. And if you can start capturing more than 12% of the revenue that's coming into to the artist through the labels. The average label deal gives you 12%. You'll be able to capture that yourself. So it's kind of working on your brand, working on your business thing. It's definitely hard work. I think we're all working twice as hard as we ever did. But if you love what you're doing, it's just that's what you do.
Well, that's what we always say, you know, it's not a job, it's an adventure, and it's a life of, you know, great, you know, opportunities, relationships, and so exciting to see these independents build. What are some of the highlights for you over the 24 years of work? Seeing some of these individuals, I know our friend Kosha Dills, who were piping in on a call and everything. These guys that get out there and just grind and hustle, and they're just born entrepreneurs and stuff, but what are some of the highlights for you as far as seeing individuals just rise to greatness?
Well, I mean, for me, I always say it's, you know, what your legacy is going to be, and there's a lot of bands out there that, you know, those bands that were able to make their careers 2-3 decades long, and a lot of them joined me this summer, dropped in, like the Less Than Jakes, the Real Big Fishes. They've never really had big radio hits. They've never had those things, but they've been able to sustain a career by, you know, I always say, don't overthink it. We're not in a complicated business, really. Artists tend to overthink things sometimes. Just go out there and do them. But also, for me, it's a lot of the people that, you know, now that are all, everywhere I go, I walk in and these people all had experience working on that festival. And now they're out there running things all over the country, and it's kind of good. And artists, but, you know, a guy, you mentioned a guy like Kosha Dills, you know, I mean, he is the consummate hustler in this business, and a hustler in a good way, and I use that word very, very complimentary when I use that. He just is, he creates... Tireless. Tireless and sometimes relentless. It's a fine line sometimes, but you know what? You have to respect him for what he's done. But it's just, you get up and he gets up every day and creates his own opportunities. I mean, and a lot of times that's what it is. If you sit back and wait for people in life to hand you something, it's not really going to be that good. So,
Yeah.
if you guys had any questions, you know, maybe a couple things you guys want to talk about?
Any couple quick questions for the man?
Yeah. I wasn't really prepared or anything to come over. I was just
yeah. If there's no questions, that's fine. I mean, we have enough from this side here. I know everybody's going to get their cameras ready as we give Kevin his well-deserved honor. But you know, as far as that goes, like you say, hustler in the greatest term, because you almost have to have that, you know, not only never say die attitude, but somehow that undying passion from within. It's not like you're drinking 20 cups of coffee. There's something internal in you that gets you to go out there every day and raise the bar and just naturally, you know, take it beyond what you've seen anybody else do.
Yeah, I mean, it just is. You get up, you know, for me it was just gotten to a point the way I run my business is I'm 100% in. So physically it was getting hard to be out there for 2 months. Definitely, that's the hardest part of me these days, you know.
I've always had the question of, you know, when I would work with artists, a lot of times I'd be either managing or helping co-produce a band or something like that. What would be the determining factor for you as a person who puts on you know, a tour or on one of these projects to bring in a band? Like, is it? You know?
And sadly, it's come with the advent of social media so much. I mean, you almost have to look at, you know, and one of the worst things I see is young managers and people are not even young managers. Some of the managers that have been around a while. You know, they get a band, they sign them, and they're talented. There's a lot of talent out there. I mean, you know, we all know how much great talent there is now, more probably than ever because of the influences that people are having in young ages in music and what they're doing. But you know, you really almost have to do a total background check. Because what ends up happening, that old stuff comes forward, like right, you know, it doesn't really, but when you have nothing going on, no one really knows. But as soon as, and I see it so often, these bands like, you know, get going and they get a little momentum and then some of their past history comes popping out. So as a manager, I would do some background checks to make sure that if you're investing your time, you know, into something that you could grow together. You know, I also, you know, nowadays I worry that, you know, the bar of success has been lowered in some ways. So the bigger agents and managers and things in this business will come and poach your bands very quickly. You know, it used to be, you know, bands would get to, you know, 1,000 seats or something before the big agents would want them. Now I see that at 300 to 500 seats. So as a manager, I would protect yourself too. You know, not sign some crazy deal, but you know, set the bar that if I did 3 of these 5 things over the next year, we renew our contract together. You renew that, and you treat it pretty straightforward as a business. You know, so I always tell managers and stuff, you know, before you get it, you don't have some restrictive contract, but you have bars of success to keep the momentum going forward.
But what makes it to where you decide to put someone on a tour?
On a tour, for me now, I used to know everyone. That was weird. I used to tour with my peers, you know, back in the day it was all the punk bands, Dropkick Murphys, Pennywise, those were all people I grew up with, and I would tour with them because, you know, I knew who they were. But now it was like, you know, it's that kind of thing, I have to have a circle of people that I kind of depended on. So, and that was one of the problems now, because that circle, sometimes I would be told, because I'm not out like I used to be, I admit, I like being home, I'm not out 320 days a year when I was running shows in Los Angeles, knowing everyone, that people, the people I would trust most sometimes would tell me anything to get the band on tour, and then I'd inherit the band's problems, you know? And then I was dealing with it because that's what I deal with. But always a live act. For me, it was always about driving a great live show. Especially in the festivals I've created, like Mayhem or Warped or Country, some of these things, they have to be great live acts because there's always so much going on because of my personality is I created chaos around me just because I like that more than a show, that you have to be a great live act to be able to, so people didn't just turn around and go get a hot dog or do something else because there's 6 or 7 stages going on. So it was always great live acts.
Gotcha.
Yeah, if you can see so much live for free on YouTube, what's going to make you go see that act that's really going to put it down and make you, you know, an exceptional
But,
live
you know,
performance?
I still don't think we can live in a world of YouTube. I
Yeah,
still think people
absolutely.
want human connection and want to get in public together.
I mean, that's the one great thing is the experience of the live show. You can never download, you can never steal it. It's really, that's the last bastion of the experience everybody wants. So what we're going to do right now is everybody get your cameras ready. You know, we appreciate Kevin as always. We've had so many great experiences on the Warped Tour. We look forward to him being the new professor at USC. I know students are going to come in from all over the world for that. We look forward to the next chapter and growing with him. His support of the Indie Summit, Indie Power, and everything we do is something we don't take lightly at all. You know, we've had so many incredible speakers over the last 3 days. People like Eddie Winrick is like, man, Kevin used to be a roadie with us on Warrant. You know, I mean, so many incredible people. And, you know, this, like I told him over the email, it says, please come on out, even for a few minutes. If you can join me here, Kevin. Basically, the Indie Entertainment Summit honors you for your talents, which have touched the world, inspired us all, from the indie creative community and IES to you. This is the honor. IES honors Kevin Lyman for a quarter-century of work. I call it the Trailblazer of the Decade Award. So this is for you. Please stand. Let's get some photos. Appreciate it. Kevin Lyman, will you please give it up? IES 18, get those photos.
And one of the things that, you know, I will say, I didn't mention, but one of the things we're most proud of this summer was, you know, the nonprofit stuff. And that's one of the things that this will give me more time to work with the nonprofit world. Warped was always a tour that I felt was music, philanthropy, and education. And the music side will figure itself out. There's a lot of smart people in music, but the philanthropy side, I just driving over here, my accountant just said, because we ask donations at our guest list tent. This is one of the things, you know, we ask people to throw $5 in the box for Music Cares. I just found out that that box collected over $39,000 this summer.
Please
that will
give
go
it
to
up.
help artists.
That's awesome.
The other thing I'm really...
And feeding the homeless in every city. I was talking about that.
The canned food drives, we surpassed 2 million tons of food that we collected through the last decade. But the thing that now will move forward mostly is the spend movement, the full energy, no drugs, opioid initiative we launched on Warped Tour, you blending technology and gamification into an app. We found out we're right under 40,000 people downloaded the app this summer out on the road to learn about opioids, and we're talking to a lot of states came out, attorney generals came out, governors, representative governors' offices. So that'll be something we're really looking forward to. So the message of Warped, when I say Warped is going away as a 2-month touring festival, but the things, the groundwork we laid will continue, and that's what I want to put my passion and energy into, because trust me, 2 months on the road, this summer really, your brain turns to mush and you become reactive and not proactive. So that's the reason we're ending. And it was a great summer. It was our second largest average attendance. We averaged over 14,000 people
Broke
a
some
show for
box
38
office
cities.
records,
Yeah,
sold out many venues.
Yeah, we sold out eight shows, and we never
Shoreline
really
Amphitheater, all that great stuff.
So it was a great summer. It was a great way to wrap up. But that means there is, because there was a lot of most of the acts on the Warped Tour this year were affiliated with indie labels or were indie bands themselves. So Best of success to everyone, and thank you very much for this award.
Well, Kevin, it's our pleasure. Thanks again for coming out. Best of you and your family. I can't wait to see what you do at USC in the next chapter.
All right.
Thanks so much for coming out.
Thank you, sir.
Please give it up for Kevin Lyman. He's walking out the door. Can Candy come up on stage? Joyce, join us on stage. Please let Kevin get out the door. Guys, he's not stopping for any of that, unfortunately. Grab that. Where's Candy? Yeah. Come on out. Somebody can move in that zone. Did you get some photos, Ian?
Yes, I did.
Okay, great.
And I recorded this one.
Awesome. And I know Jimmy's got the camera and everybody's zeroed in. What a treat was that, guys, huh?
That was cool.
I had no idea it was going to happen. Like I always tell people, till they walk through the door, I don't promise it. And I hope people are not barraging him because he's got to walk out the door right now. But try and fill in these seats right here. Guys, Candy, okay, great. Appreciate that. Why don't you join us on stage? So again, that was the great way to start our capper. Again, we're talking about summarizing the state of the music and the entertainment, business. And, it's so important to talk about, the state of the touring business because, again, with the advent of less sales or less downloads and more dependency on streaming, obviously the concert business is more important than ever. And festivals has become, obviously the big growth area, in the concert area. And that's an important part. But obviously we've had the opportunity to join with Joyce Skinner here talking about the amazing areas of film and TV. There's more studios than ever out there looking for TV content, the Netflix, the Apple's TVs, the, Amazons and YouTubes and all that. Why don't you talk a little bit about that as far as people that have creative ideas for content, where they should be kind of focused on as far as creating something of enough quality that you could shop to these studios?
Yeah, content is king, definitely. Whenever I have meetings with people, they're always asking, what do you have? And it's no different than being in the band and having t-shirts and posters and stuff. You have to have content. You have to stay into developing content. Now, sometimes you're going to bump into places where you're not welcome because there is a glut of content. What sets you apart is the quality. It's kind of like music, same thing. If you record it in your garage compared to recording in a true studio, you're going to have a difference in sound. Well, the audio is the same thing as the video. If you did it on your iPhone but you understand your settings, it's going to look better than if you just shoot it the way it is. So content is king in the sense of making sure that you have the things that's going to set you apart. Kevin said the same thing. Yeah. He sat up here. I think it runs across every medium. He ran across saying that, you got to have something that sets you apart. And, whether it's a short, whether it's a music video, whether it's a full-length feature, the industry is changing. Netflix and Amazon and Hulu and Facebook, they're starting to create their own content now. So you got to really, really, really knock people out their socks.
So if they have internal content, the outside content's got to be that much greater for them to want to deal with those terms.
Absolutely. You have to show, listen, part of my battle is that I started out doing everything in a high quality because when I came from music, that's how it was. When I'd go into a label, they'd sit there and say, oh, you got to take this back to the shop. You got to go back to the lab. And so it put me, when you mentioned Warrant, I was like, oh my God. That's an old rock band, man. It's like, but you when you're looking at back then when you had the Yngwie Malmsteens and you had the rock players that could play
Motley Crue,
they could play high, they could play drunk, they could play sleep, they could play awoke, they could play in the shower. Now people don't have to do that, and so they're getting away with stuff. Well, when you go into an office and you're doing a pitch meeting, one of the girls mentioned to me, she said she had her Bible of her show together. That's going to put her in a higher caliber than somebody that just says, hey, I have an idea, and they want to do an elevator pitch. Like that, the odds of you doing an elevator pitch is very, very low. It's not going to happen. You're going to bump into someone do an elevator pitch. But if you have your Bible and if you know exactly who your shot list is and your hit people, it's going to give you more of an edge. Someone gave me a book that opens up my mind. Someone told me, hey, I got something I want to send you. I look at everything people send me. because you never know if you may know someone who's looking for what that person sent you. And so that's number one, follow through. I went to Cannes earlier this year, and I followed through with everybody. I have people who met other people who wanted their product and their content, they didn't even follow through. And so if you don't even follow through, you know, who's gonna pay attention to you? Like, I know I wouldn't, you know? I mean, but you can always take the chance. If I can work on it, I will. If I can't, I may know someone else who's looking for what you got going on. Follow through.
Very, very important. Please give it up for Troy Skinner. Yeah, I went to Cannes for 25 years in medium and made so many incredible connections, but these days online, you know, you can do so much. You still, nothing beats the face-to-face, the meetings, the look in the eye, and sharing of the business, you know, business card, and follow up. Hey, you're trying to get them on the phone. Yeah, I met them, you know, at the Cannes Film Festival. There's a better chance of them picking up rather than, I'm not sure who this guy is on line 7 over here.
What Jay is doing for you guys is priceless. I mean, my whole career and the things that happened for me were through panels and stuff like this, fests and stuff like that. You never know who you're going to meet that 5 years from now, where they're going to be. And I look now and I say, man, you know, the people that I met when I first moved to LA who are in higher positions now, and just being in a place, you know, for you guys, when it comes to your content now, even with music videos and stuff, and I mentioned this at the speech that I gave in the other room, film festivals are huge. And forget about just winning awards and stuff, but just meeting people and being artists. I mentioned it to one of the guys here about having a band. You know, when you're dealing with getting in films and stuff, having a band helps you, because as a band, a casting director can hire the whole band rather than finding different people to play different parts, because it's a nightmare for them. But if you have your headshots for like the band, and you have your material, or as an artist, there's artists in here, and you have all that together and you give that to the casting director, you'll get hired. Because it's easier for them. They want to just be able to do their job. It's harder for them to find people when they're casting individually. But as a band, they cast together. Or as an artist, you already got everything together.
It's amazing. Now, Candy, talk a little bit about, here, I'll give it to her. Yeah, talk about, you know, from your perspective, where you see the, you know, music and entertainment business as we approach 2019. Because as I tell people, you can't live in today. Today's already gone. You have to be tomorrow, whether it's next week or next month or next year. You know, when you're talking to Kevin Lyman, he's booking his events a year, 2 years out. You know, these festivals are being booked. You know, some of these places, the casinos already know who's playing New Year's Eve 2022. You know, so as far as people looking proactively into the future, into this next year, where do you see the state of the industry and where people really need to kind of focus?
That's such a loaded question. That was like 20 answers in one. But
well, it's an open plate for you to take it anywhere you want.
Well, a couple of things I want to say is that number one, like I have events right now too that I'm already working on for 2019 and 2020. So don't be scared of the forward dates. A lot of times we tend to live in today, or 3 months away or 6 months away, but really sit down and do your plan and say, where do I want to be? And, you know, when I do my entrepreneurs, I'm like, where do you want to be? Where do you see your business? You do the same thing. Where do you see yourself in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months? And go like, and really sit down and just take some time and plan. I know that a lot of times with the artist thing, it's really difficult because we're thinking about right now, we're thinking about the money, we're thinking about the music, we're thinking about getting booked. But really think about where do you see yourself in the next couple years, or 5 years even, because it will also help you in your day-to-day. Because if you know for a fact that this is, you're doing what you love, you're living your best life, and you know that you want to be the next whomever, Drake or whatever is your dream brand or band, then you know what you have to do to get there. But if it's on paper, you can really see it. I mean, I do like a goal sheet like on a regular basis, and every month I look and see where I am with those goals. And if I'm not there, then okay, I may have to transfer some things to the next month or the next couple of months, but I still don't take my eye off the prize. The other thing is I want you guys to make sure you're knowing what's going on in the technology space. Don't be scared of technology. Get those apps and put them on your phone. You heard Troy say there was an app. I know, and that same film, what was the film app?
Yeah, filmmaking.
Yeah, filmmaking. We heard that yesterday from KT,
filming.
right?
We did, yeah.
So
right.
yeah, so make sure you guys listen to that kind of stuff and start putting those apps on your phone. I have a lot of 5 million apps on my phone to do everything I need to do. And I go to a lot of technology conferences also, and I stay up on what's going on in technology, social media, because that's what's going to be your friend. I want to tell you something. So you guys know I'm from Chicago, right? And everybody always says, oh, I'm going to be the next Chance the Rapper. You know, Chance gave away his music and he got a Grammy. You really can't. You've got to look what works for you. And I'm going to tell you why. Chance's dad worked with President Obama.
Yep.
Okay? So you may not, you know, if I
He
saw
had angles, you may
he
not.
did. And here's another thing. So do your research. A lot of times we're like, yeah, I'm going to do what Chance did. And I'm not down in Chance. I'm from Chicago. We love Chance. But I saw his Twix commercial or whatever that candy bar was before I really even knew I had heard his song.
That's right.
You see what I'm...
Yep, same
so
here.
also that, you know, for one, that tells me that, okay, what's going on with the music, you know, and how'd you be a Grammy award winning whatever and you gave away all this music. But point is, he was out there on social media. We knew him. We knew his name. That's what they wanted to do with that. They wanted us to hear his name. So that's why I'm telling you guys about the social media, about the content. You know, don't worry about how many people liked your post. Don't worry about that. So social media is everything, you know, and make sure you start researching what's going on in your industry, because a pop artist and an EDM artist, R&B, metal, you guys are going to have different journeys and different paths. So that's why I said this was such a loaded question. But, you know, social media, technology, and your plan is really important. And then work also on your budget. Do those things that are hardest to you, do those first. If you don't like dealing with money, you don't like talking about a budget, make sure that's the first thing you do. Get it out the way. Slay your Goliath in the morning. Because if you know what your budget is and you know what your plan is, then you're going to know, okay, I have enough money as our illustrious person. Y'all should have all got his number when he said he was hiring to pay band members. I can't sing and I'm getting ready to hit him up. So I don't know what y'all was doing, y'all. He said he had paid gigs, okay? So listen to those key things. Those are important because you guys might want to move to, where you from? Portland. If y'all not working, y'all need to be moving to Portland, okay? But anyway, so those are the things, you know, listen, be astute, network. And know what's going on in your industry. That is like my most important thing.
Yeah, one of the great things is when I went to college, they had a college radio station. And being a huge music lover, already playing in bands and all that, I'm like, yes, I want a slot. They said, okay, Tuesday, 9 p.m., 2 hours. Rather than just go in there and play music, I said, this is a platform. You guys are giving me an opportunity to do something with this. And I used to listen via syndication. Jim Ladd, if anybody knows the legendary rock DJ Jim Ladd, he was on KLOS for many years, KMET, and now he's on Sirius XM Radio. One of the most legendary. Tom Petty did an album called The Last DJ. It's about him. And Jim Ladd used to do a show called Interview, I-N-N-E-R, where he would go inside the music, talk about the bands of how they did all this stuff, and how'd you come up with that Sgt. Pepper idea, you know? And it was phenomenal. So I said, okay, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go and start interviewing people, because now it's given me an outlet where I can call up Kevin Lyman or this band and say, I'd like to interview you, I'd like to cover the show. Well, who are you with? Well, I'm with XYZ Radio. And you know, that radio station didn't mean as much as my enthusiasm. They're like, I've never heard of your radio station, but yeah, we'll put you on the list, you know, come on down. Now, after a while, you got to show and prove. If you're not doing the interviews, you're not doing the concert reviews, that's not going to keep working for you. But what did it for me is, with no budget, no staff, and really no help, no experience, what I did with a little tiny, you know, $20, you know, electronic little tape recorder is I started calling up the concert promoters in Vancouver and Seattle. I went to college in Bellingham, right on the border. Periscope Productions in Vancouver. John Bauer was in Seattle. And I started getting my feet in the door. Next thing I know, I'm on the radio in Bellingham. Now that's right in between Seattle and Vancouver. Now I'm applying to be like the concert promoter or the head of publicity or promotion for the activities, you know, on the campus. Zach was talking about NACA. You know, all the campuses, they have to put on movies and plays and concerts for the, you know, for the students. So I'm getting involved in that. I'm realizing I'm building leverage. There's some leverage going on here. And I became the head of concerts for my university. My little radio show, which, you know, I called Insights. So Insights took you inside the music, behind the scene. I'm backstage in Vancouver talking to all the bands. They're sweaty, you know, coming off the stage, you know. And next thing you know, this little band, The Police, blew up. And this little guy over here became, you know, U2. And this one over here is, you know, just exploding. This was the late 70s. And punk rock and new wave and everything that Kevin Lyman has, you know, benefited from was the very, very beginning. And what I did is just going out there, started doing the interviews, and then I would go and edit the interviews and basically put it into a show where I'd play the interview clips and then have the music queued up. So it was Joey Ramone said, okay, and we made that song Blitzkrieg Bob, bam, it went into the song. So I had no editor, I had no budget, I had no staff, I had no experience, but I started going around the campus and flyering, hey, you got to listen to the High Voltage Music Show, you know, Insights, you know, check it out. You know, next thing I know, I'm a one-man army. I am building relationships with the record labels. I am building relationships with the concert promoters. I'm putting on the concerts. Now the bands are calling me, hey, we want to interview for the show. Hey, can we do a date in Bellingham on the way to Seattle, you know, from Vancouver? So I just, with, like I say, nobody granted me anything. I went in and started creating this leverage and this content. And a lot of the bands I started interviewing, Kiss and Judas Priest and Van Halen, all of a sudden became these giant bands, you know. And next thing you know, I'm moving to LA and I'm already producing concerts and running this and promoting that. And I love the idea of promoting new music. Seeing this little band like The Police going from 3 guys in a station wagon with one roadie / tour manager / merch guy / you know, head of front of sound to all of a sudden, boy, they're doing arenas. Oh shit, they're headlining festivals. Damn, they're playing stadiums. You know, and MTV was born and all of this started exploding in the early 80s. And what I realized there was no matter what I did, running promotion and marketing companies, managing artists, building careers, that I would always keep at least that shingle. Like we have Indie Power TV, or we've got IES television, or this show Road to Hollywood, or whatever. I would always keep that going, because what it does is give you an avenue to go out there and maybe get in that trade show. Maybe the Consumer Electronics Show will now grant you, because you got a, you know, something on a masthead, or you can show proof on YouTube that you have over 1,000 subscribers, like you're doing something.